Joining me now to discuss Trump's cabinet picks and those who deserve a process, Congresswoman Nancy Mace, a Republican from South Carolina. Congresswoman, good evening to you. I want to get your reaction tonight to Trump nominating RFK Jr. as the health secretary.
Well, I support RFK Jr. as health secretary. I've met with him. I think he's very intelligent on health issues. I think we have a lot to address, from the kinds of chemicals in our food. That's really important to me as a mom, and seeing the effect that it can have on folks and their fitness and their health and cancer, et cetera. And I support Donald Trump's, all of the folks that he wants to appoint. I mean, this is a man who received a mandate last week. He overwhelmingly won the popular vote. He won all 7 swing states. And this is the process for him to install people he believes will support his agenda for the country.
It is absolutely his prerogative to try to install the cabinet of his choosing. But let me dive deeper into RFK Jr. specifically. Many people who might be unfamiliar with the scope of his views are familiar with his views, at least on vaccines. And his claims have largely been debunked about vaccines, but Trump did not rule out allowing him to ban some vaccines. Could his vaccine skepticism not only stall his confirmation, but possibly put some lives at risk?
I can't speak for the Senate and who will support RFK Jr. or not. I can tell you, I was vaccine injured at the second COVID-19 vaccination. I have asthma, I have pain in my chest, I have tremors in my right hand, and I've spoken about this, and I was doing what I thought was the right thing to do, and now my health it's never been the same since. In fact, I'm very asthmatic this evening. And so I'm okay with someone who wants to ask questions. I don't think we should just take everything we hear from Big Pharma as hook, line, and sinker as the end-all be-all answer. And I think it's good to have someone who's going to ask the right questions. When these things are being pushed on the American people, they ought to be tested and make sure that they're safe. And, you know, I've never been the same since health-wise from the second vaccination from COVID. And so I share a little bit of skepticism for some of that, but I want to make sure that when I vaccinate my children, that they're getting something that's safe and is not going to have a detrimental effect like it's had on me recently in the last 2 or 3 years.
What do you say to those who look at the science that suggests that the vaccines are perfectly safe? Obviously, you have your personal experience. What is your statement to the American people about the safety of this vaccine?
Well, I've spoken to a number of people, and we've had hearings about vaccine issues and censorship by the federal government. I've spoken to other people who are vaccine injured. And so I know that I am not the only one. And I've dealt with this issue now for 3 years. And I want to make sure that whenever we are asking people to get a vaccine, that it's safe, that they're not going to have long-term effects like I have had. I, of course, have been vaccinated with a lot of other things without any injury. And so we know that most of them are safe, but sometimes there are vaccine injuries. There is a risk, and people ought to know, is that risk 0.5% or is it 5%? Like, what is the risk that they're taking when they get vaccinated? Those things are important, I think, to the American people.
Well, I'll be curious to see what percentage of the confirmation process or his focus would be on that very issue, Congresswoman. Let's get to the Wall Street Journal editorial board. They called Trump's pick for Attorney General Matt Gaetz a performer, provocateur, and someone who seeks attention. He has been criticized also for his lack of experience in this particular space. Do you support his appointment?
I support all of Donald Trump's appointments that he is seeking, including Matt Gaetz. This is someone who's been very good on civil rights and civil liberty issues. He's good on cannabis issues, something that I'm very passionate about. He's someone that believes in the Constitution. And I think that's really important when you're looking at who's going to lead in that department. And also, Trump is also appointing other folks, including attorneys, as well, to support Matt Gaetz. And I support all of the individuals Trump is putting forward today.
You know, curiously, on the one hand, you want to have the opportunity to ask questions and have people challenge for the sake of the American people's information in the vaccine space. But isn't there, you're kind of giving a carte blanche of sorts to Donald Trump. You don't have any questions about the process or concerns about any of the appointees?
Well, there's a process of checks and balances. You showed earlier on the program tonight the Senate Majority Leader, Senator Thune, who said that there is a process. There's a rigorous process that all of these individuals will have to go through. I'm sure many of us will learn things we didn't know before about some of them and some of their positions, and that's good for democracy. That's good for everybody in this country. And there is that checks and balances. That's why there's a Senate confirmation process, and we'll all get to see it live on air.
You know, the House Ethics Committee had been investigating Gaetz, as you well know, for allegedly having sexual relations with a 17-year-old minor and using illicit drugs. He has denied this. Republicans abruptly canceled tomorrow's meeting to discuss that report. Do you have concerns about these allegations or the role of the American public in knowing what that report may have said?
Well, I have concerns with media, being judge, jury, and executioner. This is an individual that the DOJ investigated, and they decided not to pursue charges. And so, again, when we're talking about civil rights and civil liberties and giving someone that opportunity, you're innocent until proven guilty in this country. I've been accused of a lot of things that ended up being completely untrue, but he will have his say going again through the Senate confirmation process. He'll have a chance to discuss any questions that he's asked in the public realm.
Should that report be released? From not DOJ, of course, as you rightly say, they did not pursue charges, but it was the House that was looking at this. Should that report be released?
Well, the rumor that I've heard is that they're releasing it anyway, that they're going to put it out there. That was the rumor we heard on the Hill today. So I would be surprised if you had it in your hands by the weekend.
Well, I'll be intrigued to see if we do. Trump also has a pick for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. He's facing backlash for saying the U.S., quote, should not have women in combat roles, unquote. You were the first female graduate of the Citadel. Are you offended by that statement?
No, I'm not. I mean, again, like the left wants to say, let's follow the science. And when you're in a combat situation, I support women in combat as long as the physical standards for men and women are the same. When you're in that kind of life-threatening situation, when you're going to give your life for your country or your fellow countryman, your fellow soldier, we want to make sure that physically everybody is the same. But we've got female combat pilots that are out there. They're able to do the job very well. I think he was probably referencing like infantry and that kind of thing. But we've got women out there who are putting their lives on the line for our country. But the standards should be the same for men and women alike when they're doing that job.
I'm unaware of him making that sort of nuanced argument, though. It seemed to be more blanketed. You think that there should be roles provided.
I interpreted it. Yeah, I interpreted that. My father's an infantryman, and he and I have talked about those things. My father served 28 years in the U.S. Army. We've talked about the differences, the physical differences, and what combat is like, and that kind of thing. I don't think he was saying, hey, women that can fly F-18s shouldn't be flying them anymore. We have several qualified women that are flying jets in combat zones, et cetera. I read it to be those that are on the ground in the trenches. It's a different experience. I've never experienced that, and I can't speak to that, but our soldiers who have certainly can. He's one of them.
Well, that's what the confirmation process will be, revelatory perhaps, to explain the statements that have been made. And as you and your colleagues say, they are all due a process. Congresswoman Nancy Mace, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Laura.